So, we had asked Tommy to come in and do a little talk about uh, like birthing ceremony and funeral ceremony. At one of the things that well, two of the things that we need help with in this world when we come into this world. We need help coming in and we need help coming out or going out. And so two important ceremonies that we do. And I wanted to just welcome Tommy, and he's a respected elder in our communities, well known throughout the world, and appreciate him taking his time to come out and share some of the knowledge that he has. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Tommy and let him begin. Nani.
Wakre ne kagelo te ngono wala don ne waskwa wona kwe wasliwa no dunko ena kwa wasona gela sungwa ya diso jinu tunjaya ne ka di ne sti jina shale ne uli kwa gweko wa wasatloli ne jini huyelo sungwa ya diso ne wa ya don ka di ne shi ka di wa ya ne dio na ni dali wa kono wala don ka di ni tok sa ni kula. The first thing that I wanted to say is that we want to be thankful. I want to say thank you to Ron for speaking on behalf of all of us who are listening to follow the tradition of our grandpa and grandma given, which was an instruction given to all of us Yogwanushuni people. And as I listened to him, everything was in order, just like a water going down the river. It flows so nice. And that's the way he acknowledged each things that give us life that the Creator made to give it to us so that we can live. And so many ingredients and we give it to Ron for doing that for all of us that are listening. So be it to your mind. Well, a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, whenever it was, I forgot now, when Ron called me up to see if we could do a Zoom today about birth and the rules or the concepts, and then also when we finish life at the end when we're ready to leave, which is called death. And I was just kidding when he said, what would we call it? I said, it's the front door and the back door, but I was only kidding. And then I looked on a computer and it was on there, front door and back door. But it's all right because it's pretty near right anyway to say that. So the first thing what I'm going to talk about, even before we talk about the birth, our older elder people, in particular, one was my grandmother. She said, and my uncle also talked about it too, and he said that amongst the Yunguanushuni people, when a young man gets a certain age, that's after they change their voice and go through, I guess they call puberty, that there was a ceremonies for them. And the same with a woman. As soon as she began to become a woman through the puberty stages, there was also ceremonies for them. And then after they finished those, they're eligible to find mates or to become married. But my grandmother said in older days, marriages were arranged. And amongst, I think, lots of the Yukonoshuni people, that probably they were still doing that, arranged marriages, probably 100 years ago now. And in a sense, my own marriage was arranged, probably one of the last of the Haudenosaunee through medicine. But that's not the subject of today's discussions. Save that maybe for another time. But after the young man is old enough and the young woman is old enough, then it used to be that the clan, the mother, the grandma, and the grandmothers, they would have a say, and they would match up a man and a woman. And when they did this, uh, it has to be, if you are a bear clan, they will match you up with a turtle or a wolf. And in our longhouse, it's broken up into two parties. In our longhouse, where I come from, there's one side is on the north side of the fire of our longhouse. They're the turtle and the wolf clan. That's where they reside in our longhouse. And then on the south side of the fires, there are two fires, one in the east and one in the west. One is a man's fire, and the other one in the west is on the south side of that longhouse sits the Bear Clan. And with us today, in modern times, you will find deer and snipe and some eels sit with us. Originally, those clans came from Onondaga or Cayuga or Seneca under Sullivan rate when they were going to exterminate the area under the orders of George Washington. They attacked Onondagas and Senecas and Cayugas. And when they ran away, they came up north where the Mohawks lived. And they were running away, trying to save their life from George Washington's Sullivan Clinton campaign. So whenever George Washington was president, this was when that happened. And most of those people were married with the Mohawks in Akwesasne, and they were given sections of Akwesasne territory where they're going to live, and they're going to build a home. So they've been there since George Washington's time, and all of them today are fluent Mohawk speakers. They turned into Mohawks. But how we know who they are is because of the clan, because we follow the woman matrilineal. So there's over 2,000 Snipe clan who live in Washington's time. We didn't have no Snipe clan there. So they became like a Mohawk, but they're technically Onondagas or Cayugas. And there was also deers and some eels. So the wolf and the turtle asked the bear if we would take them in on our side, because the bear traditionally and historically were always alone in our nation. And the turtle and wolf were always buddies or in one group. So they agreed. And that's why today the bear includes the eels and snipe. And if there used to be beavers too with us. So when they would arrange these marriages, there was two sides of our nation. not only that you have to be when they arrange marriages, different clan, but usually my uncle used to say they would try to match the South fire with one of the clan from the other side, one of those clans, the two different moieties. They would match them up and to get married. And my uncle and my grandmother said that the honor, the very highest honor that a young people can do to honor their father and their mother and their grandma and grandpa and all their people is when they get married. Because when they get married, it is the uniting of the two house to make it one big house, strong house. And that when they get married, they will sit them down together facing the east where the sun comes up. And the man will have a basket and the woman will have a basket. And unlike the Western people or the European people, Canadian or American, we don't use rings when we get married. Uh, in real tradition, people, the men or the woman don't have rings because they're real traditional people. But instead of rings, what we use when we get married are baskets. The man has what called wedding basket, and the woman has a wooden basket. And the woman in her basket has moccasins or shirt or material in her basket. And then his wooden basket will have cornbread, big wheels of cornbread mixed with strawberry and maple syrup, like what we call a wedding cake, but it's made out of cornbread, strawberry, and maple. That's in his basket. So when they stand them up in the middle of the longhouse, they will use the sacred wampum of the Mohawk or Oneidas. The Oneidas will have a wampum strings, which is called their fire or gajista. Then they will exchange promise or pledges to each other by holding the sacred wampum fire of our respective nations. And when you hold that wampum, it is symbolic of an actual fire, spiritually and symbolically. So you hold it and the strings come down. So the fire is on the ground and the smoke and the sacred tobacco goes up. So that string is held up and to down, and the top is representative of the creator called Galuhyaki, or the sky world where the creator is. And so that wampum fire was given to the Mohawks by the creator, to the Oneidas by the creator, to the Onondagas by the creator, and Cayuga, Seneca, so on. We're all given those fires, sacred fires, to keep it going. And also the other teachings that goes with it, the original fire is the sun. It's the fire of all fires in the whole universe. So all fire, it came from there. The fire that's in you and me and every person or any animal that lives, there's heat generated from our fire that came from the sun. And that's why everything is sort of follow the sun. All longhouses, the way they are geographically built, is from the east to the west. That's how long they are. They don't go from the south to the north. They're always east to west because it's a teaching uh, of our belief. For now, when they get married, this couple, now this is before there's babies to be born, before the birth. This is all has to be done first, supposed to be. But of course, because of industrial schools like residence and missionaries, what they did to make us change our beliefs from our real traditional beliefs to European, they messed up the way we function as a traditional people. So now there isn't too many people left that knows these things because it was almost wiped out because of those schools and missionary things. So that's why me what I'm talking about. It doesn't have really too much to do with European. It's really from the Creator and from the Mother Earth what I'm talking about. So then now, because we're matrilineal, um, when that man and woman is going to get married, that the man who's going to get married has to have his mother's consent, has to approve of it, everything, every step of the way. And she will sit right by him in the marriage ceremony. And the woman has to also have all along the whole way her mother's consent and agreement, totally. And her mother will sit next to her, and behind them will sit their relatives, their close relatives. But in the front, in the middle, is the two mothers. And they're the ones that have to begin the ceremony. So when this happens, wedding, you see the mothers, you see the grandmothers, you see the fathers in the back where they sit, and relatives. It will fill up the longhouse. And so now this young people have become the center of attention of our nation, and their father and mother sits there with them, or especially the mothers, but behind others. And now they become proud of their son and their daughter, who are now going to begin the journey of a family, of uniting together. And the whole nation will witness this. The whole creation will witness this. And so that's why my grandmother said, when you get married, that's the time when that man and woman really showcases their mother and father and grandma, their family, and really honors them with the greatest respect. And that's how they begin to make a family under those kind of circumstance. And then they exchange the baskets towards the end. And then the man gives the woman the basket that has a cornbread with strawberries and maple syrup in there. And he says, I pledge you that I will always look for food, that you will never get hungry. And however many children the Creator will send to us, I will make sure with all my power that you will never get hungry. You will always be fed. And he gives her that basket that's got cornbread in there. And then she gives him the basket that has a moccasin or a cloth representing your clothing apparel. And she says to him, I pledge to you that as your wife, I will always make sure that your apparel, your clothes that you use to hunt or work every day is always clean and proper. And when children are born to us, if the Creator so wishes, I also will make sure that their clothes is always clean and appropriate for them. And I make that pledge to you. Those are two of the main things until both of them are living, until one dies and they're free from that. But anyway, that's generally. but I make a comment today because of the residential school and the missionary stuff, I guess, of the histories and our grandparents by being sent to these schools to re-educate us and make us forget our spiritualities and customs and tradition. Today, I find that many people, I don't know about Canadians or Americans, but I know our own people, they don't like to get married anymore. But they like to have babies without the marriage. And our people call that job. It's not marriage. And so then when they shack up like that, a little while they don't like each other or get sick of each other, and they find another one. They got more children, and it may happen several times. So a lot of time kids, half brother and half sisters, uh, not strong with a father and a mother the way it used to be that my grandmother and my mother said when I was growing, and they would talk about that. And we don't want you to do that. We want you to follow the law of the eagle. And my grandmother said, the eagle, when they get married, the rooster and the hen eagle, it's for life. They never get another partner. If the female dies, the eagle man will fly alone for the rest of his life. That law is ancient law of the eagle. That's what my grandmother said. She follows that. But in years ago, our chiefs um, created another tradition or law, and it said that when a people gets married, if one of them dies, the man can get married again, or if the husband dies, the woman can get married again. Uh, as long as they have died, they can legally get married. So that is true. It's legal that way, but it's not the law of the eagle, which grandma followed that one. So she was married to my grandfather for 65 or so years, and he died. And she said, by the new laws of our tradition, she can get married, but she won't because she follows the old ancient law for previous to that, like an eagle. I'll fly alone the rest of my life. And she kind of made a joke of it too. She says, I was married to your grandpa for 60, almost 70 years. And she says, and that was enough. She kind of laugh about it. But I wanted to share this with young people that if you really want to honor and love your mother and father and your grandma and grandpa, that's what you should try to do is get married by our tradition and show them off that they are the reason why you were born and why you exist. And this is your way to show them off to the whole world. So part I wanted to share with you. I'm not saying you have to do that, but if you want to embrace tradition, that's what you do. Now, when they're married now, committed together, what it says in the marriage, it begins there because all of this is interconnected together. There isn't just one segment. Everything of our culture is interwoven together since the beginning of humans. That's what all our ceremonies in our longhouse is about. And that's why when that man and woman gets married in the traditional, they said if you're lucky to have children, you will follow these, what we know about to be laws, and that they said to the young man and woman that get married, if in the event you have children or several children, the Creator makes you lucky to have children, and you have a house, and your children, they're talking to the parents, playing outside where you live, and other children from other house are together playing with your kids where you live, where your house is. And now you have prepared food, and now it's time to eat. And now you call your kids, and there are other neighbor kids playing with your kids where you live. When you call your kids, you call all those into your house when it's time to eat, and you take the burrs out of their hair, those little kids, if there's burrs in their hair, and you wash their face, clean it from the grime of their playing, prepare them to eat the food, and you invite even the neighbor kids who are playing with your kids, and you treat them, and you comb their hair, and you wash their face, just like they were your own kids. So do you become a mother of your kids, but every kids that's around you, you will treat them like they are your own kids. You will love them that way. That's part of the ceremony for marriage in the ancient way. I thought that was so beautiful to do that. It lays down ahead of time the things that you can do so that trouble and abuse or neglect of children, it's why it's so beautiful. But anyways, um, then they said towards the end of the ceremony of marriage to them, when you have children, you will bring them to the ceremony. Whenever the door of the longhouse, ceremony house opens to have the different ceremony, you will prepare your feast baskets and the lentils for each of your kids in your basket. And you will take your little kids, even if they're babies, to each ceremony, longhouse ceremony. And that's where they will see and they will hear and they will learn how to understand the spiritual of our people and how to dance and how to act, how to behave. So they will be solid. Don't never miss as they're growing here. Never stop. And if you can do this when your children become young men and women, they will thoroughly know their tradition. They will thoroughly believe it. So nothing can knock them down. How wonderful those old people, when they believe like that, they were so right. So now we're going to talk about the birth. But you see why it's necessary, why I talked about this marriage? Because it's part of the stability of securing a safe family. So now, when a woman and a man are married and they're going to have children or they get pregnant, a woman, amongst the Iroquois people, that is the Mohawks, Onondagas, Cayuga Seneca, Tuscarora, and I imagine probably the Ojibways and Lakota and Cheyenne, although I wasn't raised there, so they have similar ways of believing. I am pretty sure, but I do know that Wanoshuni people. I know our people, the way we believe, the way the old people told us. So now they said, my grandmother was real strong, my mother too, that when your wife is pregnant, the husband who made her pregnant is also pregnant. That amongst the Yunganushuni, there is no such thing as just a woman to be pregnant. That the man who made her pregnant is just as pregnant as she is. And that the rules that that woman who is pregnant follows, her husband has to follow it too. And that's what they told us. So the real traditional Yunganushuni people, they know that already. And then our uncle said, and her grandma said too, and mother said it too, and all the elder people said it, that when a man and woman is pregnant, the knows that that spirit has to come from his land into this earth's reality. And so in order for that spirit that's hooked to the Creator's land can come here, it has to have a power. It has to be guided and protected because that life is fragile. And so in the eyes of our Creator and the Mother Earth, baby is the most precious thing in all the world. And in our Haudenosaunee spirituality, babies who aren't born yet or just conceived are probably 50 or 100 times more precious than a baby that's already born. So that's an implication that we must never abort. Not right to do that, especially to an unborn. And that's in our teachings. Well, now, in order for this to happen, our grandma and uncles and elders said that the Creator shows upon that mother and father who just got pregnant 7 times the normal power that you and I have before pregnancy. He multiplies that 7 times. So he gives it to the father and to the mother in order to protect that little conception of that baby starting to grow within the mother, to protect them so that they can be born, the miracle of birth. And at this point, I'm going to inject that also when we're done living from birth all our life and we're ready to leave this world, the Creator knows that our spirit has to leave here and go back to the original source where we came from, Kentucky. And so the way we came in, he gave the parents 7 times the power of normal human. And so when we are ready to die and leave, he gives that person that's dying 7 times the power, the same power that they came to get in here. And he gave them 7 times the power to exit this world in order to get to the next world. And when my uncle was talking about this as a young boy, young guy, he used an example for me to understand. And here's what he said about this. He said, you know, in Florida, they have a Cape Canaveral over there. And over there in Florida, when they send a spaceship from Florida up into the sky, they use enormous amounts of fuel, specialized fuel, to shoot that spaceship beyond the power of the earth, to get it out of our power into the, until it floats. No gravity there. He says, so that's when somebody dies, the creator's got to give them 7 times the power to get out of here, just like that spaceship. That was pretty good of my uncle to say that. It made me understand. And he says that's why when somebody dies, you're not supposed to be touching them or kissing on them when they're dead, because they have this extra power that can interfere with you, your life. And so only certain people dress or touch the dead. And then they have to use special medicine to themselves and wash away the power of the death. That's we'll get into that maybe later. So now a man and woman who is pregnant, they are told not to argue or not to fight or to argue or to have a discord amongst them for the whole 9 months of the pregnancy. That if there's wrong, they're supposed to use soft words to talk about it, but not to holler and to yell at each other's, the mother and father. Because it says in our elders' teachings, in Nagai Huyo, it says that if a father and mother are to argue and have a dispute or have a fight, especially a fight, that that's inside the mother is listening and can feel the emotions through the mother and the father. And so when there is a dispute or argument or fight, then that baby says, oh, just because I have started my journey to be born, it has upset my mother and it upset my father because to the world, I'm the cause of their argument. And I didn't want to come here to make trouble for my father and my mother. So what I'm going to do, because I don't want to make trouble, I'm going to hold my breath or I'm going to stop my breathing and I'll go back to the creator. That's what they call miscarriages. Because the arguing, the baby thinks that then he's not or she's not wanted. And then they will abort their own life. And that's some of the teachings that goes with it. So that's why when I and my wife were pregnant, my grandmother says talks Mohawk all the time because she didn't never go to school and she don't know how to talk English. She said for 9 months, she says, "Dank atkun shala ang sadatuni." That means for 9 months of pregnancy, you have to become like a pillow, a cushion, so that if your wife gets upset, and she will because of pregnancy, and it's hard to control, especially for the woman more than the men. So if your wife says something to hurt you, you have to be like a pillow, soft pillow, so it won't your feelings. Her sharp words will go into the pillow and not into your heart to hurt you. So you said you have to become a pillow, and her too. She has to do that too, best that she can. Now the reason why for 9 months, as the baby grows bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, it pushes pressure on the mother's stomach and other endings in the stomach. And when the baby moves around, it touches those nerves and it causes the woman to become erratical sometimes or unpredictable in her moods. She'll have mood swings, especially a mother. And sometimes it's so erratic that she'll lash out or she'll holler or she'll say something that she shouldn't have said. And it can be hurtful. You have to be ready for that. So you must be the cushion for her. And she has to try to control it too. Because if you do this, it'll affect the baby inside. And then those elders said that when you are pregnant, you are not to go where there's large crowds of people, pregnant, where there's several people, like a social dance or maybe a big wedding or something, or where there's a lot of people. You're not supposed to go there. And the reason why you're not supposed to go there is because if you go unexpected where there's a large group of people and you see somebody there, maybe who's crippled, or maybe it was a soldier who got back from the war and one leg is cut off and he limps. Or maybe you go somewhere and you see a man, he's got strawberry birthmark on his face and it's noticeable. And as soon as you see that man that's got no leg or is that strawberry thing or anything that's abnormal, you and I, because it's not regular normal, we will take a couple seconds to stare at them to try to figure out what is that, what happened? Why is he limping? What is that red marks on his face or his head? And so grandma and my mother said, you're not supposed to stare at those like that, because when you stare at that, what you see goes in your body and it goes in your body. The father and mother is hooked to this that's growing inside. And so whatever you see, mother and father, the baby learns to develop his eyes so he can see in 9 months. So every day, what you and the mother sees, it's helping the eyes. And it takes 9 months so that baby's eyes can be developed to a human's. And whatever you, father and mother, hears with your ears, that baby's ears forming and the senses of hearing is being developed every day as she grows bigger and bigger, or her inside the mother. And whatever you hear, mother and father, that baby's ears is getting trained and developed so that at 9 months, that baby will hear just like you. Everything that father and mother sees, feels, touches, emotion is all transmitted. That's why a young man and woman needs to be trained through the tradition, and they need to be helped by the elders how to understand, so that when it comes their turn to carry a little baby, they can safeguard, honor, and respect and protect that baby until it breathes first breath of life. Those are all teachings of the ancient tradition of the Haudenosaunee people. Now, a big teaching that I know for sure is that when a man or a woman is pregnant, they're not allowed to go visiting somebody unexpected. You can't just go visit somebody's house, knock on the door, and go there when you're pregnant. If you want to go, you have to let them know that you want to go visit them. And the reason is because older people and even some younger people sometimes get sick or have illnesses, especially older people, because of old age. They use herbal or blood tonics to help their joints so that it's more can move around, or their blood to be doctored, and they'll use blood medicine from herbal medicine from the woods in the swamp. I know that because I seen grandma with all her medicine that she drinks every day when I was growing. And I know other of her cousins that did the same. And we do it the same right now too. And so they pick that medicine in the woods, sometime a few miles in the woods and in the mountains. And then they gotta wash it. Then they gotta dry it. And then they gotta cook it. And sometimes there's formulas. You gotta know which ones to mix with which for what sickness. And then they put it in gallon jugs, usually those old glass jugs, and they cover it with a white cloth so nobody will see it. That's a real tradition, medicine people. But if somebody's pregnant, woman or man, and you go in a house word, because you have 7 times the power of a normal person because of your pregnancy, you will be like an X-ray machine at a hospital. You can't see it, but that power of the radiation of the X-ray machine can do damage to your body. And that's why in the hospital, when you get X-rayed, they put that heavy metal pads on you to protect from that X-ray. Well, that's the same concept with the pregnancy. So if that man or woman who's pregnant goes in the house of a person who uses medicine, the extra power of pregnancy will neutralize the medicine so they can drink it and it won't be effective. It loses its power. It gets neutral. And that's the way we are told by our old people. Young men or women who are pregnant can't just go anywhere. That's why ahead of time so that they can put their medicine and hide it away from your sight where you don't see it. Um, then another thing, I want also, and I always share this over the years. When we first got pregnant, my grandmother always told me that even though I have my own house, that because I grew up at my grandmother's house, she says, I want you to know that this house where you grew up is your house, always do. No matter what day or time of day or night, this is your home. And she says, and when you come here, I don't want you to knock on the door like you're a stranger because this is your home. Day or night, you just come in. That's what she told me. So every time after I grew up and I lived in my own house or someplace else, whenever I go by in a car where my grandmother lives, that's where my house is too. And I always think about her. And then on my way back, I'll stop in and I say hello or have a cup of tea with her. But then when I got pregnant, I forgot. Even though I've been told this many times, I was used to being pregnant. So I pulled in the driveway and I went to my grandmother's house and I didn't knock because she told me never to knock. And I walked in and at the kitchen table, my grandmother had that 1 gallon jug of medicine that she makes for her old age. And she was pouring it into a glass. And as soon as I walked in, I caught her doing that. And she says, wow, waset tinaguanukwa. Waset tinaguanukwa. That means, wow, it's like a surprise remark that I think Oneidas do it and Senecas do it and Mohawks do it. I don't know what it really means, but they say, wow, that's their surprise. And it's not too pleasant, I guess. That's what she said. Then she says, waset tinaguanukwa. That means you ruined my medicine. You ruined my medicine. Felt so bad about it because I know she's got to go away in the woods to get that and she's got to clean it and fix it and all that. And I ruined her medicine, but I didn't mean to. And I said to my grandmother, that means I didn't intentionally ruin your medicine. I forgot. I was pregnant. Ah, that's a deal, girl. She says, that's okay. It's no big deal. And she says, God's gonna come over here where her medicine was. I never seen this before. And so she said, that medicine that's in a glass, I want you to put it on your mouth and drink one swallow. And then she took the gallon jug and she says, put your finger in there. And I did. And then she tipped the jug until my finger touched the medicine in the jug. And you know what she said after doing that? Oh, she says, Soniki, askwada ako na ako pa. Ano siya hayo sa layo? That means, again, a good remark. A happy remark. You re-energize and you put power back in there more than it was before. Now, maybe I can go to the dance and dance all night because a pregnant person re-energized her medicine. And this is an important part at this point of my story because a real grandma and a real grandfather and a real father and mother never their children or their grandchildren after lecturing them in a negative state or in a where they're sad or negative thinking after scolding or a teaching. So what she said to me is she turned the negative that I ruined her medicine after doing that ritual of just touching and drinking her medicine. She turned the feeling that happened into many layers of positive. Now she says, you really made my medicine stronger than it was before. So when I left my grandmother's house, I didn't feel that I had violated her medicine or her, but I felt good. And that's what real grandmothers do to their grandkids. They make them feel good. That's a good grandma and a good grandpa. And then, but you guys let me know now if you need a break to go see John and Jane or you want a sip of coffee and then we can continue. Let me know that because I can keep on going if you don't let me know. Is it okay or you want to take a break now?
Yeah, I think we can take a little break.
Uh-huh. And then how long you better tell me how long?
Oh, 12 minutes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna have a 10-minute break and then we'll get started back up. While we're on break, I'll show some door prizes that we have for today. We have this bag here. It's got, I believe, 3 bags in there. It's a nice design. We also have a ceramic mug. That will be door prize number 2. We have an Amaranth swag bag, which includes a hoodie. I have different sizes, different colors, as well as a bag of goodies. One of the goodies in the bag is a book written by Bob Antone and Diane Miller and Brian Myers, The Power Within People. That's in the bag as well. I got a toque and a water bottle, a speaker, some headphones, a couple masks, a couple hand sanitizer. And this bag, a goodie bag, was donated by the Gluteal Aftercare Program. So we thank them for that. I've got 2 of those goodie bags, and then also, because it's raining today, I got a big umbrella, so we'll be doing that draw as well. So that will be at the end of Tom's presentation. So you want to take 5 minutes, grab a coffee.
Your presentation.
Adrienne,
Yep.
it's Faith Hill, and I'm wonderful. This is a beautiful workshop, and I just wanted you to know that Ken Wright is with me. We're together,
Okay.
so we only signed in on one, and what a wonderful job. Thank you so much.
you. As far as the questions being asked, will this be available to watch later? We are recording. I'm not sure the process of posting that. I'll look into it, but I will probably be posting it on our Facebook page if that's possible. So stay tuned for that, probably in a few weeks or so once we figure things out. So probably about 5 more minutes and then we'll get back. As far as Faith, you were saying that you have somebody watching with you, as well as another person messaged me. If you could change your name just so that it reflects in the participants. So there's an option to change your name if you go on participants. There's more. You can rename. Just put if it's like Faith, you said you had somebody else, so Faith and Ken, if you put that. Thanks.
Adrienne, I'll send you an email because I'm driving and I'm not going to be able to change the name.
Okay.
So I'll send you an email that it's Ken Wright and Faith Hill. And I don't know if you remember me, but I was a Little Beavers coordinator from a long time ago.
I do remember you actually.
Yay. I'm so happy to see your face. So yeah, it's really good. So I'll send you an email, hon, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Fraser, I just said that if anybody was watching together and they registered together, you could just change your name so that it reflects that there's 2 people on your account. That way they both get put in for the door prize. And for the person who just entered, we are just on a 5-minute break or so. So Tom will be back shortly.
Okay?
Yep, go ahead.
And then one thing I did forget to tell you too, at the beginning, when at the beginning of pregnancy, that couple was supposed to burn tobacco too, and they acknowledge that that baby is coming, and they ask the Creator and the four sacred beings that the journey of this baby, how grateful they are that the Creator sends them to them, and that they will do everything to take care of that baby as he's journeying to be born, and to ask for help that everything be good. It's not too long or too big of a thing to do, but a very important thing to do. And that's what that couple should do. And then while they're pregnant, they hear every hour. So did you hear it? Well, just give it a couple seconds to go by. Then
No, we can't hear it.
oh, you can't hear it? Okay, then.
No.
So I'll go on. So
Okay.
then now, when the man and woman is pregnant, the older people tell us that that man or the woman, they're not supposed to go fishing to catch a fish. They're not supposed to go hunting for anything for 9 months. They're not supposed to butcher a hog or a cow or a rabbit. They're not supposed to do any of that for the whole 9 months. The reason I did ask one time my uncle and my aunt, well, isn't that going to interfere with if your family is hungry to hunt or to butcher something, a rabbit or maybe a cow or pig, because that's what we used to do. And she says no, because that's why you have a father to step in at that time. That's why you got uncles that to hunt for you and to do the butchering if you have to. And that's why you have brothers to do it. So that for 9 months, your family, extended family, will do all those things. So you won't get hungry. And then when your uncle or your cousin or whoever become pregnant, then you have to go help them the same they helped you. And so they had an answer for everything. But everything leads an extended family, a clan family that works together, that helps each other, and you don't have to say or ask for help. They just know, and they go ahead and do it. And that's a real Haudenosaunee traditional community. They always are helping each other. I know one time I was at my grandmother's when I was pregnant, and I had left my wallet on the table, kitchen table, my grandmother's kitchen table. And so I started to go upstairs up in her house, and I had left my wallet on the kitchen table. So I started going up there, and I got halfway up, and I said, gee, I forgot my wallet on the table. And my mother was standing at the top of the stairs, my own mother. And I told her, I said, I got to go get my wallet on the table. Oh, no, 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 she said. Don't you go get that wallet, she said. Keep coming up the stairs, all the way to the top of the stairs. So I listened to her, and I got up the stairs. Now, she said, you can turn around and go downstairs and get your wallet. And I asked her, how come you did that? You told me to do that. what you and your wife are doing is training your baby how to have a tradition and how to behave. And she said, the reason you didn't go or turn around halfway coming up the stairs to go get your wallet is because if you do that, that baby that's inside is learning what you're doing. And so when 9 months is over, your wife's going to have a baby in 9 months. When that baby starts to travel down the birth canal, that's like a stairway. And he said, then that baby, when he gets halfway through, that baby will sink and say, oh, I forgot my wallet or I forgot something. And then he'll turn around in the birth canal and try to go back up to go get whatever he forgot. And that will cause a long labor, a painful labor life. And that's why whenever you're doing something, don't do it halfway. You got to do the whole thing, complete it. So that way your child learns how to complete always and don't just do half things. Then one time I remember I was at Alice Papino's house. She was a clan mother for the Onondagas Hill clan. And Alice used to travel with us at the White Roots of Peace for a good, probably a good 15 years or so. Everywhere the White Roots of Peace went to Saskatchewan, British Columbia, California, New Mexico, wherever, she went with us. She was our woman mother for all of us. And one time when I was pregnant, went to Onondaga and I visited her. And I stood at her and I was admiring the flowers that her and her mother had planted, beautiful flowers through the window. And you know what she said to me? Because she knew I was pregnant. And she says, hey, you're not supposed to be looking out that window like that. And she's come over there and she opened up the window way up high. And she says, now I want you to go through that window. And so I did what she said. Because she said there will be an obstacle between what you see and the birth. And that baby will have an obstacle like that glass. It's the obstacle of something beautiful you're seeing. That's what she said. So I did what she said. So anyway, those are some of the things about birth. There's a lot of others, but I think for now that should be enough. So that should give young people fill up their pail with things that they need to prepare if they're thinking about having a wife or if they're thinking about having a baby, or if even they're not thinking of having a baby, if they do have a baby without thought, then they better fill that pail up with the tools, make sure that baby is protected and arrives here wanted. So now from there, I'm going to go to the 9 months. When the baby is born, there's a midwife or even a doctor in a hospital, because I have 6 kids and they were born in a hospital because of C-sections. But I did this even in a hospital. And if you talk to the doctors in the hospital, I think most of them that I ever seen were cooperative, and the nurses were cooperative too, to follow our beliefs and tradition of the Longhouse. So when a baby is born, a little baby girl or boy, you're supposed to have a name ready. If it's a girl or a boy, some names ready that are available. Mostly you get the names from your matrilineal family. Like my mother's side, all her uncles that are Bear Clan, my grandmother's cousins that are Bear Clan, or her uncles or that have died long ago. Those are the names that our clan, it was in our family. So those older people will tell you what names are not occupied, are not being used. And that's the name that will be selected for the baby that's going to be born. And this is done even before the baby is born, because some of those old people were seers. So they knew if it's going to be a boy or a girl before the baby was even born. And most of the time, they were 99% right. Um, so now when the baby is born, everything is okay. Mother's okay, and the baby's okay. So now at the birth of the baby, the father is the one should be there, or the mother of the baby's brother, older brothers, or uncle, the baby's mother's brother from the matrilineal. But the father should be there. And if the father can do it, after they wipe the mucus from the baby's nostrils and mouth and clear it from the afterbirth, but they don't bathe the baby yet, just clear the passageways. And they bundle up the baby and they hand it, the baby, to the father or to the uncle. What he says is this, and I'm going to use my own son as an example of a baby born, or my daughter, either one, but I'll use my son. And that father will hold the baby that's nostrils and airways been cleared, and he holds the baby up and he says, Creator, I want to thank you that the and baby is okay. They're doing fine. They made it. So thank you, Creator. And then you say, my Creator, the women in this, my child, if it's my niece, if it's the uncle saying it, or if it's the father saying Leon or Kia, means my daughter or my son. You tell the Creator that the women and the family of my daughter or son have chosen Alungianos to be the name from the earth that he will hold, the one baby you sent to me, this little boy, my son. His name will be Alungianos. And you say that to the Creator 3 times. You repeat his name 3 times to the Creator. And then you say, thank you that he has arrived safely and in good health. And this is his name, Alungianos. So now what you have done is you have introduced the Creator to the baby he sent, except that this baby now receives his earth name, because this is the first time he will live and breathe the air of the earth, of the Mother Earth. And then after you have done that, and then you're going to say to your son, Alungianos, you say, Alungianos, that's your name. For as long as you're going to live, that's your name. And so, Alungianos, I want you to know that the Creator sent you here to be born. And I want you to know Songkoya Dison, our Creator. And you say that 3 times to this your son or daughter. And I want you to always know that the Creator's the one sent you here to be born, and that as long as you to live on this earth, that you will always love and respect our Creator and never forget our Creator. And so what you have done, a father or uncle, is you have formally introduced that newborn human being to the Creator with its earth name. So it has now identity. ID. Then the next one, you say spirit beings. Kay yung kwe take. I want you to know that my son or my nephew or my niece, and his name is Alongianos, was born, and he's cut, he's fine, and mother too. And so four sacred sky dweller beings, his name is Alongianos, and I thank you for your help that he's born okay and arrived safely. And you times his name to them. And then you tell your baby that the four sacred beings are the helpers of the Creator, and they will help us to live and try to protect us as we live. And I want you to always know who the four sacred beings are, my son, and also always to love and respect them for as long as the Creator lets you live on the earth. And then you start now and you go to the earth. You say to your son, to the Mother Earth, Mother Earth, my son, my son was just born. And the women of his clan, they said his name is going to be Alongianos. And so Mother Earth, I want you to know his earth name is Alongianos. And Mother Earth, while my son is going to be growing, I don't know how many years to live, but for as many years as he will live, Mother Earth, I want you to help Alongianos the way you have helped me to live. All the food, you give it to us. The medicine, you give it to us. The water that quenches our thirst, you give it to us. So Mother Earth, I will ask you to help my son so he can live a good life. And so you got to make sure that you've told Mother Earth the name. Then you look at your son and you say, Alongianos, the earth is your mother. She is the one that will give you food when you are hungry. She is the one that will hold your feet as you walk upon her body. And Alongianos, your mother, the earth, will always take care of you as she has taken care of me. And so, Alongianos, my son, I want you to respect and love your mother, the earth, for it's found on the Mother Earth. And so now I have formally introduced you to them, to him, to the Mother Earth. Then you finish that. And everything what Ron said this morning when he opened up this workshop or this discussion period is repeated to that baby 3 times. The name is said through the whole thing, so that given is what we call our original instructions as a humans, the way we're supposed to relate and behave on the Mother Earth. And it starts as soon as the baby breathes the air and is given the name, his responsibility to behave in a proper human way and be respectful and loving to the Mother Earth, to the water, to the animals, to the things that grow in a garden, to the deer and all animals, to the eagle, the birds, to the maple tree, to the thunder, through the 4 sacred wind, through the stars, the sun and the moon, to the 4 sacred being, until you get back to the Creator. Then you say, I'm now finished to introduce you to my son's name. He will begin his life with all the power of the universe to him. And so he will walk with them for his life. He will have good, strong life. And that the real traditional Mohawks, real traditional Oneidas, real traditional Onondagas, Cayuga, Seneca, Tuscarora, when each baby little girl is born and little boy is born, they do that welcome ceremony to them when they're only seconds old. And then after that, they have to take them to the ceremony when all before they're 1 year old, as they're 2 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, never stop going to the ceremony at Longhouse. And at the ceremony, they hear, they learn, they dance, and they become to be everything what you told them at birth. They become exercise. There will be no doubt that they will be a real Haudenosaunee. So that's going to, I guess, conclude uh, what I've got to say at the moment. There probably is many things I didn't say because we are on time restraint, but I think that's sufficient enough for people to digest mentally and psychologically, spiritually. And if you can find a place in your life, especially if you're going to be a father, be the best father, the most loving father and mother there can be. So this time now, what I will do is go now to when we live, and after many years of life. What I did forget, though, I just remembered now that's important. When that baby is born, when that baby girl or boy is born, uh, it is said that when a baby is born, there is a, like, I'm saying, like let me use this as an example, a stick. And spiritually and symbolically, when a baby is born, before, when the baby breathes his first breath of earth's life, the Creator has already made a stick for you and every baby. And on this stick, he carves a U, a V, like the saw, like an old hand saw here. And each V that's on the stick represents Zoasuntak. Zoasuntak means one night, but it is understood that one day also comes with that. So Zoasuntak means the day and the night, but they call it the night. So the Creator makes the stick, and then he puts it, the way my uncle says, he takes your stick, the baby stick, everybody's stick when they were born, and he says, he kind of puts it in a back, like a back pocket or in a back or in a quiver or someplace. Sungwashtoni, they call it Sungwashtoni. It means the stick that he marked of how many days that the Creator allows us to live. He hid it from us. That's why he put it in the back or hid it. So you and I will not know how many days the Creator allows us to live. And because when he did that, he says, when he's Ladino ko Sundadino, Nenegitko Ganigo Leo Sawahawak. That means in English, the reason I did that, he said to the people, is because every day and every night, I want you to carry a good mind and be good to each other in all things. Because you don't know, that's why I don't let you see how many marks for you. But every day, if you carry a good mind every day and night, you need not worry about how many marks is on your stick before you got to come back home to the Kalongyake. But if I were to show you the stick, each of you, me and you, then we can go wild because there's a lot of marks. So that means we're going to live long. So we can go wild and crazy. And then when we know there's only a couple of them left, all of a sudden we grow wings and we become very angelic and good and kind and good-minded, because we know in 1 or 2 or 3 more days, we gotta leave this earth. And so we cheat. And humans, for some reason, humans are the only ones of all the living things that likes to cheat. And we also like to add extra leg, as we tell. And my uncle made an example about this part to me. He said, a man, when he goes hunting, he catches a deer, it's no horns on it, but when he gets back to the village and other people, he tell them there's 10 points on the deer horns, but he didn't have no points. He likes to brag. Or the man, and he only caught little fish. But when the village finds out his fish was great, big, long fish, bigger than what he caught. And that's what he do, the men. And women aren't off the hook either. My uncle said, sometimes women have children, and these children seems like they were never taught manners or how to behave. And these kids are table knocking things down and driving the mother crazy. But yet when she's with other women, she said, oh, all my kids are so respectful and they're so good kids. They're the best kids in the world. And the mother says that about her kids who breaks the furniture and jumps on the table. And that's means she don't know how to tell it the way it is, because she's a human. Of course, my uncle didn't believe, but I did understand his point. And that's why the creator, he hid that life marker that we all have. So every day when one night and day goes by, he takes that V off. Next day, night, he takes the other V off. Next day and night takes the other V off until there's one more. That means that after today, the creator's going to send somebody to come after us. We're done our visit on the earth. And there's nobody to blame when that happens. That was predestined by the creator. The only thing that can stop that, predestined by the creator, is if you shoot yourself or hang yourself, you shoot somebody or kill somebody, then you have taken that stick away from the creator, and you who have done this, taken a life away from the natural stick the creator gave, are now supposed to be, my uncle said, responsible for the universe. It's responsible how the sun shines every day, responsible for how the geese knows when and how to from north to the south, every changing of the seasons, and how the fish in the ocean swim from the cold to the hot and the hot to the cold, and when they're supposed to do it. And when stars fall from the sky so that they don't crash and collide with other constellation, you now will become responsible. If you thought you're going to get away by doing that, your trouble is just going to begin, my uncle said. So that's why that means he don't want us to hurt somebody or kill somebody. That means he doesn't want us to commit a suicide either, but he wants us to find other things that will help us to live. And that's all related to the death. So now, the young boys of all the Haudenosaunee song when they're little boys. They called this song Aduma. And my uncle said that a father or uncle, when their little boys around 3 or 4 or 5 years old, they will burn tobacco and they will ask the creator the four sacred beings, and the Mother Earth and all the power, that they will send a song to their little boy through a dream or through the trees or through the birds. That this song will be his personal Thanksgiving song. They call Adunwa. Only the men gets this song, the boys, not the girls. And then I asked one time my uncle why the girls don't have a Adunwa song. He said because at the beginning, women have more power, more staying power, more power, strength than a man. That a man is powerful only for a short time. It's a short haul. A woman, right till she dies, she's carrying power. And he says, how do you know this? Because he said, only a woman can give birth to another human being. A man cannot do it, just a woman. So she has more power to create. The man can't do it. He helps, but he can't give birth to them. And so the man is a little bit behind the woman. So in order for the man and the woman to be equal, he said the creator gave that little boy a dua, a Thanksgiving. So now they'll be equal in life. That's to help the man to be equal with her. So whenever a boy is happy or thankful or inspired by something that is great, he can look towards the east and he can holler 3 times to the creator and he can sing his Aduna song for his thankfulness and inspiration. And that's why at the Longhouse, at the big ceremonies, there's a day when every man will have to sing their Aduna, their Thanksgiving chant. Chiefs do it, faith keepers do it, men, uncles, fathers, and little kids all sing. It's a beautiful sight to see. And so now, how many years does that you and I live? But if we're thankful or grateful or ceremonial wise, we sing that sound of Aduma. How many years? If we're 98 years old, how many times did we sing to be grateful? And then now we're at the edge and there's only one more notch in our stick. And so now it is known by our family that once that's gone, we have to leave. And so they say now that old man who's almost 100, he can know that. So he'll say sometime he's bedridden, real bedridden, before he loses that notch to die. And then he'll say to his grandson or his nephew or his son, he said, can you help me to sit up or to stand up next to my bed? And maybe his sons or nephews will grab him on his arms and lift him up and stand him up. And then he'll stand up with his last power and he'll say, my creator, ever since I was born and I grew up, my creator, I'm been so grateful. I sang all the time to thank you, my life. And so today I got many children and daughters and sons and grandchildren and great grandchildren, many, and they're all doing good. They're all not hungry. And he says, Creator, I thank you for those gifts I had since I was born. till now that I have to leave to go. And so, Creator, for the last time of my gratefulness for all my family, I sing my Aduma. And then he hollered 3 times and he began to sing Aduma to the Creator. And then they lay him back down and his eyes closes and he just sleep and he died. I seen that a couple of times. Old people do that. And so that's how we were told to be ready. Even though we will become sad because we lost a loved one, our uncle told us not to be stingy with their life. We can cry and we can grieve a certain number of days. It's proper. But after those certain number of days, we're not to cry anymore. There's a ceremony on the 10th day called they raise their mind up. What gets go, they call it the raising of the mind on the 10th day. And they want us to officially to stop our crying and our mourning, the big cry or the big mourning on the 10th day. And they said if we don't stop crying on the 10th day, that on the 10th day, that spirit completely leaves the earth and goes back to Kalunghiaki. But if we don't stop crying 10th day, that person who died will worry. And as they journey to the next world, they will hear the cries of their loved one who remains on earth. And they will feel so sorry for them that they will use their power to try to turn around and come back and try to wipe the tears of their loved ones who they left on the earth. And therefore, that means that if they do that, they won't road real fast to the Creator's land because of your crying. And so that means you're stingy. And if you're stingy after 10 days, you will interfere with their journey to the great peace. Because there in the other world is their mother, their father, their grandma, their grandpa since the beginning of time. And at the other world, it's lined with strawberries, big red strawberries, all the way to the next world. And when they get there, they're all singing big ceremony songs, big corn soup, big mush, strawberry mush, blueberry mush, all kind of good food. And all our ancestors are lined up waiting just to grab you and to hold you. How happy they are to see you. And so it's not sad for them. We are sad because we're left here on the earth. But for 10 days, and then after 10, we must stop so that they won't turn around and we will not deprive them of the great happiness and joy in the next world. And that's how we look or do about the death. Uh, my uncle said also that when somebody dies, usually whatever clothes they have, uh, they will remove it and they will burn it. And then they redress them. They bathe them and then they redress them with their death clothes or the clothes they're going to journey with to the next world. And certain people from a certain clan are in charge of doing that with as minimal amount of people to touch their body as possible. And when people have bathed them and dressed them from a certain clan, then do that. Those people who touch the dead body has to use what they call wild ginger juice, which they make into a tea, and they wash their eyes with that juice and their head and their hands and their shoulders and their body legs, so that the power of the seventh power of death doesn't hook or stain on them, so they can be free to live, continue their life, and the dead won't take them with them. That's why all the Haudenosaunee people, when somebody dies, they always use that uh, the called squally or wild ginger to sprinkle on them when they see the dead or come next to the dead. Every family does that. Then on the, but now what my grandmother said is that for 9 days, yeah, no, days when the body is laying in a house, or usually the real traditional people don't usually send their dead to the funeral home somewhere. Even if you got a small house, they like to bring their dead back to the house where they lived to be waked there. Even if it's a small house, that's okay. That's where they lived, and that's where they bring them back. And usually it's for 2 or 3 days. Usually 3 days, they wake them. And when when somebody dies, right now they usually take them to the funeral home in Messina, if it's Akwesasne Mohawk, and those there are non-native people there, but they've been working with us for uh, ever since I was a kid. They're called Donaldson Funeral Home, but they know the tradition of the Roundhouse people, and they are dead. But even they open the door that we can go there and help them to prepare the body or to dress the body. I have gone several times to do that. So we work real close with them. And then when we're finished dressing the dead person, there's a ritual that goes on there after you have finished washing and bathing the body and then dressing them. You then from the other side of the fire will talk. So if it's a bear person that died, a speaker from the turtle or the wolf has to do the talking. A bear clan died, a bear clan cannot do the speaking. Got to be the other side. And so what he says after they dress the dead, they tell the dead and they talk directly to the dead. They said, your body now is ready to begin the journey here from here, where you have been at this house. It's not your house. And the clothes that we put on you to go to take your journey, the shirt you wear, ribbon shirt or leather jacket, that's yours. The moccasins that we put on your feet is your moccasins. It is not on a bill. There's no, you don't owe 1 penny to anybody. The entire clothes that you're wearing for your death journey to the next world is completely paid for, and you don't have to worry that you have a debt somewhere about that. And so we have now informed you of that. That has to go, that worry. He says, and now that you are dressed, they will bring you in the big car to where you were living all your life. And there your body will rest. And they'll tell them how many nights and how many days. They tell them everything, the spirit, what to expect. So there's no surprise to them. So then whenever the funeral brings that body with the hearse to the house with the body, the opposite clan greets them. And the family of that clan stays away in a different part of the house. Usually they close the door. That family, the immediate family, stays there, and the opposite people of the clan greet the undertakers and help them bring the body in. And then they place the coffin in the house where it will rest for how many days. They'll open the coffin, make sure the body is proper, are affixed or however. And when everything is done, then the opposite clan will open the door to the immediate family and they'll say, Ona ako kakwatako. Isa what gonna say, oh no. everything is fixed now. So come and see your loved one. And then usually the oldest member goes and leads the family to stand in the front of the coffin to see their father or their grandpa or for their mother. That's when they're usually doing crying too. And so it is um, every day and every night. What my family does is when somebody dies in our family, we have a kerosene light, with old fashioned kerosene light. And we light that the whole time that there's a body there. That's what our family does. Sure, what other families do. I think a lot of them do the same thing. Other Indians I noticed, like Choctaws and I think Ojibwe too, but I'm not sure. But I know Choctaws do because my wife is a Choctaw, and we just came from my niece's funeral just last week. And what they did while her body was laid out is they make a wood fire outside of the house day and night until they bury her, and then let the light the fire go out. But the Mohawk, or my family especially, they just put a kerosene light on, or you could use a can, as long as it's a fire, I guess, and that helps the spirit to find the journey to the next world. So it is believed that for 9 days, that spirit stays here on the earth for 9 days. So that's why every day for 9 days, our grandmother told us not to put lipstick on, not to put mascara on their eyes, not to fancy their hair up, not to dress up fancy, not to be watching TV, not to be listening to radio or rock and roll or country music for 9 days if your immediate family, like if it's your uncle, your aunt, your grandma, grandpa, your wife or husband, or your kids or your nephew. For days, you're not to be going dancing or social dances or listen to radio or TV for 9 days. We're supposed to give that 9 days to mourning and to grief and to think of the life of that person that you lost. So in that 9 days, as you're thinking and honoring them and being grateful for their life, there will be times when, as you're thinking, all of a sudden you'll cry because of them. So you are to cry. And the more you can cry, our elders said, the better. Because the more you cry in those 9 days, by the time the 10th day comes, your tears can begin to dry up and you can find the power to release them. And so that's why while the 3 days that the body is laid out, what my grandma and uncle and mother did, most all the traditional people do, in your house where the dead is laid out, they put a white cloth on all the mirrors. They cover all mirrors, even the toaster that's got chrome on it that acts like a mirror, catches your reflection. They cover it with a white cloth while the body is there. But in my family, for some reason, they don't do it just they do it for the whole 9 days, and they stop on the 10th day to put a cloth on the mirrors. And I asked them one time, why do they do that? Well, the first reason is that we're not supposed to look in a mirror to beautify our hair or to put lipstick on or, fix our eyes fancy. And they use a mirror to do that because you're supposed to be honoring the life of your dead for 9 days, not busy looking in the mirror. And the other reason is that because the spirit of the dead is going to be in that house or around that house for 9 days and nights, that mirror can catch that spirit and reflect from the mirror And if you're walking there and you see that dead face in the mirror, the spirit of the dead, and you see it, sickness can come to you, or even death. You can go with that person. So in order to be protective and assured, they cover the mirrors, everything that shines, because they don't want nobody to get sick and they don't want nobody to go again with them. Our crying is enough for one. We don't want to cry for two. And those were the reasons. There are probably other reasons, but I was satisfied with what they told me. So now so every day that the body is laid out, you're not supposed to touch them. You can go next to the coffin and you say to them, and here's what you say to them when you talk to them. I'll talk Mohawk because that's the way I understand or I have been raised to do. They'll say Gyase. Nene yachte taidinire, nene jina angwadalas wama. Nene de sangwawi katoka jini winisarag, yakwatawa ya johonjade. Ona katigase, osadok tase. Nene jini winisarage, chiawi sangwaya disa. Yate taidinire. Wat kono holato, jina he zunne, wasadawa ya johonjade. Sayo tasalio, kayo tasalio, ne sayo jina he, wasanagrat. Ne one wat kono holato. Katkek sua jidwadatka honda nagwa. And that what it says is, my cousin, what happened to us, we can't change what happened to us. Because at the beginning, the Creator gave us the stick with mark how long we're going to live. And today you ran out of the marks on your stick. And so I came here today to tell you, to visit you, and to bid you farewell and give you my greetings and acknowledgement for all the wonderful things that you have done since you were born till you are now leaving. And I want to say thank you to all the good things you have done in your life. And sometime, someplace in the future, we meet again and see each other. And then you leave. That's the speech that everybody says when they go before the dead. You call them cousin. Yashe, my cousin. And then when people eat at a certain time when the dead is laying there, they prepare one dish before everybody eats. Nobody eats first, but they prepare one dish of all the food that was brought there for the people. They put it in this one plate for the dead person. And after they finish putting all the different food in that plate for the dead, and they'll even put a coffee or a tea or a water too, and they'll put it on the top of the coffin or on a table right next to the coffin for the dead person, so that the spirit of that food goes with the spirit of the dead that's feeding them. And they're done that, the people from the other clan, opposite of the one who died, they will then serve the food counterclockwise, and they will begin with the speaker. Whoever did the speaking, that's where after they feed the dead, then they begin feeding. The first one is the speaker. And then they go counterclockwise from the speaker. And then that food will stay there all night. But the people, there will be people that will stay with the dead body all day, all night. And the body is never left alone. Not ever left alone. Yes, you leave the dead body alone, it's considered a bad, disrespectful. And that's partly why they make a kerosene light go and they keep that people there over them. And then early in the morning, they will take that food that was sitting with the coffin all night. And young people, one or two, would take the food early in the morning, sometime early. There's no specific time, but don't wait till too late. When the sun just come up, maybe an hour or two, within that time, they take the food in the woods, way in the woods, or in a big pasture, where the dogs or the cats won't get it, the domesticated animals. And they take that plate of food in the woods or way out there. And if you can put it in a tree or on top of something, or just on the ground, doesn't, if it's way far away where the domesticated animals can't get it, you turn around and that's feeding the dead. So our uncle says, and our grandma said, that when the birds that are not, and the wolf or the coyote or fox eats that food that's back to the natural world, that means the dead has taken it complete. And every time they eat in those 3 days, that food, every time people are served, that plate is also put aside to feed the dead first. And that's important. And then those food at certain time is taken to the woods. Some people likes to sing or belongs to singing society or love singing. So certain people, if they did, they'll play that game they call Tahkwayunte. Tahkwayunte. Achta means moccasin. And then they will play with the moccasin. And they will take moccasins and they'll put or they'll sometime use of the dead person that died or his moccasins, and they'll put a stone inside, hide it, and they use a stick and a water drum, and there's two sides, and they play that game for the dead all night long, and they'll use 100 sticks as markers, counters, and they have to sing, and the other side has to use a stick, and guess what Mark's sock has the stone in it, and they hit it on the ground. If it makes a noise, they win a stick, and it goes like that. And they take turns depending on, if you can't find a stick, then it goes to the other side, and the drum goes back the other side, and they sing all night to entertain that man that died because he likes to sing, or he belonged to the society, or he requested that before he died for that to happen. I know when my own grandma passed away, they didn't sing that for her, but what they did for her, what we did for her is that my grandmother used to play a house game called Adanaha. It's related, a first cousin to the Peachstone game, but the dice are made out of hickory, 8 hickory dice, and there's 40 corn, and they put it on the floor, a blanket on the floor, and if you're a close relative to my grandma, are not allowed to play. But other same clan as her and other clans that are not related to her will play to honor her spirit all night until sunrise. That's one another way to do it. There's all different things that they can do. And if somebody dies and they're a lacrosse player, a lot of times they'll put a favorite lacrosse stick in the coffin to take it with them in a ball. Or if they were a basket maker, splints in there to make baskets or jackknife, put it in there so they can do what they used to like to do in the next world. All kind of things like that. And then when when are they ready to bury them, they talk to the family. There's a ceremony that they talk to the family, and then from there, when they finish, that's where there's a lot of crying when they're ready to take them to the longhouse from the home. After they finish the home speeches to the family, where they talk to the whoever's left of the family individually, and tell them about their loss. And that's where there's a lot of tears. And then from there, they take the body to the lawn house and they go in the east door of the lawn house. From the sun starts in east and goes west. So it's believed that the sun takes the spirit of the dead to the west, to the Creator's land in the west. Follow the sun, and the sun does that. And so they bring the body in the lawn house on the eastern door from where the sun comes up, and they put it in the middle of the floor. And the body lays from east to west, head on the east and foot to the west. And then there's another family at the lawn house, and that family that died are chiefs, clan mother, faith keepers, medicine society people, social dance people, lacrosse player people, medicine ball people, and other societies that the people had are talked to. The way they got talked to at that person house where he died, the dead person, not a lawn house, and they do the same to the big family, the nation family. And then they a lot of times start to cry again there. And when they're all done that, they have a last viewing of the body. And so when that happens, if there's a ceremony going on at our lawn house of the four sacred things, and somebody dies at the same time, that's it's considered that the four sacred rituals of our lawn house and deaths of anybody are equal in their power or in their stature. So therefore, if there's a ceremony of midwinter going on or harvest dance going on in a lawn house and somebody died, they'll stop the midwinter where what they're doing, and then they'll stop it. And then the dead body will come in and they'll do the ritual for that dead person. And then they'll take it and go on to the graveyard. And when they're done that, they'll resume the ceremony at the lawn house. So it doesn't stop the ceremony. They only momentarily, just so the dead can do what they got to do to interrupt that ceremony, but it doesn't stop it. That's how powerful it is. And then when they buried them, they never dig the grave the day before, the night before. If today all the young men from the opposite clan goes there to the graveyard and they dig by hand that grave that same morning. They don't believe in digging a grave a day or night before, because if you do, that they say the elders that you're opening the door to the deaths and the spirits of the dead people, and that they can come and take other people from our village with them. So that's why they never dig the grave ahead on that door. It's too powerful. So they wait only for that same day when that same sun is there to dig the grave and then bury them. That's the way I've always seen it. Then once they brought the body there and all the family comes there, they tell them that we're all done since the time you left. They talked to you and dressed you. And then they told you that you were going home to be how many days. And then from there, they talked to your family and you were watching and you were listening and they're talking to the dead spirit. And you listen and you watch them as they talk to your family for the days you were laid out. And then when you funeral time, they talk to your family again and they cried. And then from there, they brought you to the lawn house where you always come to the ceremony all your life. And there your other family is, and they talk to them too. So he's watching all this time. So now we're here at the graveyard. And this is as far as we, the people, your family, and all your friends can go. We are going to place your body into the Mother Earth. And they'll say, well, my grandfather was one of the talkers there. And here's what he said. you said to the dead person, you said, Ona wa kahewe, Ona wa kahewe, Chidawanuk, Oyawahik Tamoyak, Nisayarunta, Oyokro ne, Oyeri, Nunta, Sego Toyo Yo Naya, Unsada Musalat, Chidawachia, Oyanotsa, Yanotsine, Chinu to Hunjaya, Sangwaya Disa, Escon Asataga to it. So what they said is this is as far as we can go. We put your body, and then we take your body and we wrap your body with the garden blanket of Mother Earth. That's what they call burial. We wrap up your body with the garden blanket of Mother Earth. And then when they finish that, they say on the 10th day, there is another feast for you. And at that time, they're going to tell you 10th day, you will leave the earth and you will go back to Galunghiaki. And how will you know how to go there? Because our old brother, the sun, will come on the 10th day, on the dawn of the 10th day, and he will grab you and hold your arm, and he will guide you so you won't get lost to the Creator's land, where all our ancestors are waiting for you. So you have to, our old brother, the sun, with his big power, he will help you. He will guide you by holding your arm to go to the next world. And so all the people comes, the leaders, the family, and they grab the dirt and they throw it on top of the coffin. That means they will be with the garden blanket of the Mother Earth until they bury him. Then they usually go back to the house and they eat there and in his honor. And then on the 10th day, they have the giveaway where all his belongings and property is assigned to the living. So he has nothing to worry to come back to this earth, but in peace will rest on the 10th day. And so that's basic in Reader's Digest form, how we view and how we do with the dead. It's sad, but on the other hand, it's also like a graduation. It's like when a baby is born. If you never seen your son or daughter born, then you'd never know that feeling until that happens. The same thing as you're a teenager. You don't never know what it is to be a teenager, no matter how well somebody until you yourself are a teenager, then you know. And the same thing with an uncle or aunt. You don't know what it is until you become an uncle or an aunt. And then as an elder, a grandma and grandpa, you don't know what it is until you become that. And the same thing with death. You don't know what it is until you do it. And so death is like birth, it's like puberty, it's like getting married, it's like becoming grandma for the first time. It's just another stage, another level, another step in the Creator's plan. And so with that, I thank you all for listening. I hope that I spoke it clear enough and chronologically laid it out so that it's easily understood. If not, let me know and I'll try to make it more clear. But thank you for listening. So I turn it back over to you, Ronald. I don't know if our time elapsed or not. Yeah, our time did elapse. Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so I thank you for all your good words and encouragement. There's a lot of teachings in there with the marriage and the birthing and the deaths, and it's all something that we need to learn about, we need to continue on with, and encourage young people and everyone to follow up with them traditions and follow up with, you know, our ways. Because as we know, it's all good. And it's how the Creator intended us to be, as Hungwe people. And so thank you for all your knowledge and your sharing and your ability to tell them stories in the way that you do, which is really good. And so Adrienne, I didn't know if we want to close her up at this time, or do you want to do that thing first, that door prize thing?
Yep, and we have just a couple comments.
Ron,
Oh,
Ron,
questions. Yeah.
Ron, Ron, I seen that they want to know about the 1-year feast. Usually, the reason why there's a 1-year feast, from what I have been told, and I don't know if it's correct or not, but that's just the way I believe, because that's the way I was told. Long ago, when somebody died, they used to mourn and have grief for 1 whole year. 9 days. They used to do it for 1 whole year. But because the population became so big that there were people way back hundreds of years ago that were in mourning, and they didn't even finish mourning 1 year, and another person died in their family, and they're crying. So it ended up that they were crying and crying all the time, never to enjoy life. So the spiritual knowledge came from the Creator. Fortunately, that the Creator said that because there's so many people now, that you don't have to mourn for the whole year, but that you can just do for 9 days. So that, because he said, I didn't mean for you, I didn't put you on earth to be crying out every day of your life. I want you to know some happiness too. So he said, instead of crying for a year now, I want you only to do that for 9 days. 10th day, you'll lift up the minds to stop crying. And then some people said, even though that's what he said, that's why they fixed it. We feel like we're slighting our loved ones because we're not crying for a year anymore for them, although they understood, but they still in their heart felt they were cheating the people who died in their family. So then it was agreed on way back then. And for those of you that feel that 10 days is not enough time to cry and be mournful, after the 10th day, you will stop your crying, but you can semi-mourn for a time of 1 year. Semi-mourn for 1 year. That means that you won't be foolish or go too crazy with entertainment stuff, but you can, but you'll stop crying, but you will be by not attending big dances and stuff like that, entertainment stuff for 1 year in the dead's honor, because you feel that 9 days wasn't enough. But on the anniversary of the 1 year of that person's passing, you will have a year feast for that person to mark 1 year of mourning or semi-mourning, and then they want you to stop, not to keep on semi-mourning. That's what some elders told me. And the only other time we will see the dead people or be with the dead people is at Ukiwe. That's in the spring and also in the fall. And also when we do personal family feasts at our homes. So that means we have Ukiwe twice a year. And usually we will have 1 or 2 personal feeding of the dead in our homes, individual families. So usually we have 3 or 4 feasts per year. And those are the times when we can officially interact or be with or eat together with our dead. and to remember them. But as soon as that is over, the food goes out, and when the sun comes and the animals take it, we're not supposed to have our minds where the graves are anymore, because you don't want to deprive the time you need to raise your children and your nieces and nephews and your grandchildren. Your mind's supposed to go back to the living and to the sunlight. And that's what I thought I'd share with that yearly. I hope it's good. Okay, Ron, back to you.
All right. I don't see any more questions. Do you see any more questions, Adriana?
No, just a comment, you know, go for the reminders. You know, if we enjoy your teachings, you know, go Tom. And then grateful for Tom and Amran for truth teachings, and my soul's filled with love. Ahu.
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna do the draws. The first one we're gonna do is for the umbrella. So I'm gonna share my screen, and I've got everybody's name that participated today on a wheel. So I'm gonna shuffle the wheel up. And then we'll do, first one is for the umbrella. And that is Erica Dockstader. And then the next one is for Namaran Swag. And that is Ashley Dockstader. The next one will be for the mug. And that's Fraser. The next one will be for Namaran Swag. And that's Jordan, which she's under Rochelle's name, you'll see on there. And then the next one is for the beauty bags or the little personal bags. And that's Chantel Dockstader. And then the last one, we have another swag bag. And that is Twyla Antone. So I'll be in contact with those who won to get the address, and then I could drop off all of the gifts that they won. If you want to do a closing, Ron?
Alrighty.